Good day, students, and welcome to News in English with Tutor Tom for Tuesday, the 17th of October, 2023. So, with the continued tragic and sad news around the world, I want to keep my videos this week quite light-hearted, none more so than today's article, which is titled Citibank Wins Case After Sacking Banker Over 2 Sandwich Lunch Claim. So it sounds a bit ridiculous, and we'll go into the details now to explain what happened. Okay, Citibank has won an employment tribunal after sacking a worker for claiming expenses for sandwiches and coffee for his partner, and then lying about it. Now, I don't know how this is pronounced. I think it's Zabolks Fakete. Had accused the bank of unfair dismissal after he was fired last year for gross misconduct. Mr. Fekete had initially claimed that he alone had consumed 2 sandwiches, 2 coffees, and 2 pasta dishes during a business trip to Amsterdam. But he later admitted that his partner had shared some meals. Mr. Fekete, who worked at Citi for 7 years as an analyst specializing in financial crime, ironically, had traveled to Amsterdam for work between the 3rd and 5th of July last year. On returning to London, he filed an expense claim for food and drink which he believed was covered by the bank's €100 or £86 daily allowance. However, the manager he submitted his claim to queried whether he had consumed all the food and refreshments he was seeking reimbursement for. In an email exchange detailed in the Employment Tribunal ruling, Mr. Fakete wrote, "I was on the business trip by myself and I had 2 coffees as they were very small." He further stated, "On that day, I skipped breakfast and only had 1 coffee in the morning. For lunch, I had 1 sandwich with a drink and 1 coffee in the restaurant, and took another coffee back to the office with me and had the 2nd sandwich in the afternoon, which also served as my dinner." Mr. Fakete told Citi, "All my expenses are within the €100 daily allowance. Could you please outline what your concern is, as I don't think I have to justify my eating habits to this extent." The bank stated that its query was not about the amount, but if the claim breached its expense management policy, which states that spousal travel and meals are not reimbursable. It also states that all attendees whose meals are submitted for reimbursement must be listed. Citi escalated the matter to its Security and Investigation Services Department, which also questioned Mr. Fakete about whether he had shared a meal of pasta pesto and bolognese, I think that's the French spelling of bolognese, with his partner, to which he replied, "No." The banker later admitted that he had shared meals with his partner. He also said that he was having personal difficulties following the death of his grandmother, had taken 6 weeks of medical leave and was on strong medication when he replied to emails. However, the bank ultimately dismissed him. Mr. Fakete took Citi to court for unfair dismissal and wrongful dismissal. But in the judgment, which was first reported by the Financial Times, Employment Judge Illing found in favour of Citi. The judge said, "I have found that this case is not about the sums of money involved. This case is about the filing of the expense claim and the conduct of the claimant thereafter. It is significant that the claimant did not make a full and frank disclosure at the first opportunity and that he did not answer questions directly." Judge Illing added, "The claimant was employed in a position of trust in a global financial institution. I am satisfied that even if the expense claim had been filed under a misunderstanding, there was an obligation upon the claimant to own up and rectify the position at the first opportunity. I accept that the respondent requires a commitment to honesty from its employees." A spokesperson for Citi said, We are pleased with the decision. So quite an interesting article there, mainly because it's a person who has lost their job and a very good job working for a large bank based on lying about the food that they expensed, and they expensed the food eaten by their partner. So, of course, on one hand, the employee lied to his company. So that, understandably, should result in some punishment. But is the punishment going a bit too far to sack them and to remove them from the company for expensing a sandwich for their partner? It seems, in my opinion, a little bit extreme. What are your views in regards to this? Do you agree that the company was in their rights to sack and fire the employee for what they did? Or do you think it's going over the top? For me personally, I think a very serious written warning would have been enough rather than firing someone. So let me know in the comments below what you think in regards to this article. So let's now go into some of the words that I like in this article. The first is dismissal. Dismissal, the act of ordering or allowing someone to leave. For example, their controversial dismissal from the competition. Dismissal. Expenses. Expenses, the noun of expense. The cost incurred in or required for something. For example, conference rooms were equipped at great expense. Or it also could relate to a third person present. For example, to offset an item of expenditure as an expense against taxable income. For example, up to $17,500 in capital expenditures can be expensed in the year they were incurred. That is the word expense or expenses. Queried. Queried is the past tense of the word query. And that is to ask a question about something, especially in order to express one's doubts about it, or to check its validity or accuracy. For example, many people queried whether any harm had been done. That's the word queried. Queried. Reimbursement. Reimbursement. The action of repaying a person who has spent or lost money. For example, reimbursement of everyday medical costs. That's the word reimbursement.